This is Dan Dicks here reporting for Press for Truth with breaking news. Israel says that they are readying for an imminent attack on Iran as airlines are now canceling flights to the region. Middle East braces for Israeli retaliation attack on Iran after Israel War Cabinet meets. The Israeli Air Force says that it has completed preparations and that an attack is imminent. The U.S. officials are telling the Wall Street Journal that they believe Israel will launch an anti-Iran operation today. Here you have the IDF chief saying Iranian missiles and drone attacks on Israel will be met with a response. You got Netanyahu here ordering the military to draw up a list of targets. So things are escalating very, very quickly here in this prelude to World War III. As world leaders are reacting to Iran's air attack against Israel, you've got Americans now panic searching on Google words like World War III and can I be drafted as Iran bombs Israel. So Israel's war cabinet is now considering whether to go big against Iran despite World War III fears. And the ministers are discussing airstrikes and they're pressuring Netanyahu to launch a crushing attack despite fears of a catastrophic escalation here. The U.S. has suggested to Israel that if you strike back at Iran, you will be going at this alone. That, of course, is the official narrative that is being painted here, but some behind the scenes are suggesting that Israel's response to Iran attack could be imminent and coordinated with the United States, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to talk about all of that and much, much more in this video. But really quickly, guys, just before we do, I'd ask that you check me out here at subscribestar.com/pressfortruth. Here you can sign up for monthly reoccurring contribution, guys. $5 a month, $10 a month. Whatever is within your means is very greatly appreciated. I cannot do this work without the support of you, the viewers. So if you do appreciate my efforts to bring you this information, please check that top link in the description below to where you can find me at subscribestar.com/pressfortruth. All right, guys, let's scale this one back for you. Let's kind of go over, how we got to this point a little bit, and just take a step back and look at the bigger picture here, because what we've been seeing, over decades really has been retaliation after retaliation after retaliation between Iran and Israel. And, the official narrative, that we're being given here is that the Iranian regime, through their proxies like Hezbollah and in particular Hamas, attacked Israel on October 7th an attack that was completely caught them off guard. That in and of itself, ladies and gentlemen, is ridiculous. I put this out immediately after it happened. They knew that the attack was coming and they knew that they would retaliate. Here's what you need to know. If you need to bone up on that, guys, be sure to check that out. I'll put a link in the description below. But as the official narrative goes, that happened, and then Israel responded on April 1st by bombing a Iranian consulate in Syria, killing a couple of top generals that the Israelis believe were essentially the masterminds for the October 7th attack. So now you have this situation of Iran trying to posture themselves as saying they are now going to retaliate back for that attack. And they announced that they're going to do so, not only to the Americans, not only to pretty much everybody in the region, but to the Israeli regime itself. They announced that there was going to be this, retaliatory attack. And I remember when I was, witnessing this over the weekend, immediately this, scene came to my mind from the Monty Python's The Holy Grail, where it's like clearly the military, is doing things very slowly here, and the, supposed, the enemy here can see what's coming with plenty of time, plenty of time to react. I saw some other people online, likening it to, this scene in Austin, Austin Powers. It's like there's plenty of time to, react here. So, so here you have this alleged retaliatory attack, and Israel now claiming that they're going to respond not in kind, but much bigger here. As we see, Israel is considering whether or not to go big in its retaliation against Iran, despite fears of this being an all-out conflict in the Middle East, according to reports after the Islamic Republic launched hundreds of missiles at the Jewish state over the weekend. The country's war cabinet met on Sunday to decide between military retaliation or to respond to Iran's attack in a more measured way, according to the Financial Times, citing this as an Israeli figure familiar with government deliberations. But now, after the U.S. said we're not going to help you, they just got out of this meeting today, saying that they are drafting up plans for this attack, and as we see here, this could potentially be coordinated with the U.S., despite the fact that the U.S. is saying they're going to stay out of it. An Israeli official has warned a response to the recent Iranian attack may be imminent. Israel's war cabinet met for several hours on Monday, and following the meeting, the official said they did believe a swift response is important. The cabinet reportedly discussed multiple diplomatic and military options. They said any response will be coordinated with the Americans. So here you have a full-fledged war brewing here against Iran, and this has been on the cards for the Israelis and the Americans and NATO and their allies for quite some time. And we simply cannot believe a word they're saying today in regards to this. I mean, they lied about Iraq, they lied about Afghanistan, they lied about, Libya, and they're lying about Syria, and they're lying about Iran today as well. This has always been an agenda, particularly by the intelligence community behind the U.S., the CIA, to destabilize various regions in the Middle East, to take it over, and often to do so under the guise of a humanitarian mission. This is how they've been operating through order out of chaos for centuries now. So there's, again... Don't take it from the mainstream media. If you're getting your information about this potential, war from the TV, just shut it off, because it's nothing but propaganda and lies right now. You're going to see them saying that, the U.S. is just going to stand back here and not have anything to do with this. That's absolute nonsense, ladies and gentlemen. I put out a video way back in 2018 that I want to leave you with here today. The truth about the battle for Iran, what you need to know. And in this video, I break down a little bit of the history of the CIA's, efforts to overthrow this regime, and how this has been on the cards, for decades now. And now the U.S. with their, ally Israel is looking to pull the trigger in a big way, and to go in and to take over the area, as they've been planning to do for a long time. So I just want to leave that with you guys. I covered the history of it at length in that video. It's just a short 8-minute video. And this is from quite some time ago now. There's a lot of new subscribers these days, so there's a really good chance you probably haven't seen that. And even if you have, it's still good to, as I said, bone up on this information once again today, as they are now pushing to escalate this into potential full-on World War III. Ladies and gentlemen. So just wanted to bring all of that to your attention. Once again, if you do appreciate my efforts to do so, don't forget to check me out here, subscribestar.com/pressfortruth. Once again, $5 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month, whatever is within your means is very greatly appreciated. Again, I can't do this work without your support coming directly from you, the viewers. So thank you, everybody, for your contributions. If you have subscribed to me here at Subscribestar, and without further ado, I want to leave you today with this. Here is my video from May of 2018, The Truth About the Battle for Iran, What You Need to Know.
Iran, 1953. The CIA mounted its first major covert operation to overthrow a foreign government. The target was the Prime Minister of Iran, Mohammad Mossadegh. He held power legitimately through his country's parliamentary process, and he was popular. Washington had once looked to him as the man to prevent a communist takeover. But that was before Mossadegh decided that the Iranian state, not British companies, ought to own and control the oil within Iran's own borders. When he nationalized the British-run oil fields, Washington saw red. The Secretary of State, John Foster Dulles, and his brother Alan, director of the CIA, decided with Eisenhower's approval to overthrow Mossadegh and reinstate the Shah of Iran.
Crown Prince Abdullah greets the Shah as he lands at Baghdad airport after a 7-hour flight from Rome.
The King of Kings was back in control and more pliable than Mossadegh. American oil companies took over almost half of Iran's production. U.S. arms merchants moved in with $18 billion of weapon sales over the next 20 years. But the weapons and flattery heaped by America on the Shah blinded us to the growing opposition of his own people. They rose up in 1979 against him. Death to the Shah, they shouted. Death to the American Satan.
The Iran-Contra hearings, convened in May 1987 by a special joint committee of the United States Congress to investigate the sale of U.S. weapons to Iran and the illegal diversion of money to the Contras.
All our enemies knew it, and you wanted to conceal it from the United States Congress.
We wanted to be able to deny a covert operation.
In identifying those responsible behind the September 11 attacks, there were 3 viewpoints. First, that a very powerful and complex terrorist group able to successfully cross all layers of the American intelligence and security carried out the attack. This is the prevalent viewpoint, which has been supported mainly and advocated by American statesmen. Second, that some segments within the U.S. government orchestrated the attack to reverse the declining American economy and its grips on the Middle East in order to save the Zionist regime. The majority of the American people, as well as most nations and politicians around the world, agree with this view. Third, it was carried out by a terrorist group, but that the American government supported and took advantage of the situation. Apparently, this viewpoint has fewer proponents. The main evidence for this viewpoint links the incident with a few passports found in the huge volume of rubble and a video of an individual whose place of domicile was unknown, but it was announced that he had been involved in oil deals with some American officials. It was also covered up and said that due to the explosion and fire, no trace of suicide attackers was found.
I like to tell people when the final history is written on Iraq, it'll look like just a comma.
We have terminated a terrible, terrible deal that should have never, ever been made. And we will be putting on among the strongest sanctions that we've ever put on a country. And they're going into effect very shortly. They're mostly constituted and drawn already. And we'll just have to see what happens. I would advise Iran not to start their nuclear program. I would advise them very strongly. If they do, there will be very severe consequence. Okay?
There is a great deception taking place as the masses in the West are being manipulated to going along with a war intended to overthrow the Iranian regime and to install a puppet leader, one whose strings can be pulled in any direction that the U.S. or their ally Israel desires. In what is now being described as the most direct confrontation between Israel and Iran in decades, Israel fired upon Syrian and Iranian forces late at night under the cover of darkness. Israel and Iran have been waging what the New York Times calls a shadow war in Syria for months, as Israel has continued to launch multiple airstrikes, often resulting in casualties for Syrian and Iranian soldiers. This attack came just days after Israel called up reserve troops to the Golan Heights, a disputed border region where the battle for oil routes is ongoing. I exposed this fact over 1 year ago in my video titled Breaking: Syrian War and the Battle for Golan Heights, Genie Oil and Gas Exposed, where I warned what the agenda is, and it's now coming to fruition. This recent attack came less than 2 days after President Trump announced his decision to pull the U.S. out of the Iran deal. Trump said that the U.S. would swiftly reimpose economic sanctions on Iran that had been lifted following the 2015 agreement, despite the fact that the Iranian regime has not aggressed against anyone in over 100 years. In fact, the Iranians claim that the Israeli attack was a false flag attack, while Iran maintains that last night's skirmish between the Israeli Defense Force and Syrian army forces was a false flag and that the IDF struck first, continuing its pattern of airstrikes and other military assaults in Syria. The IDF boasted Thursday morning that Tehran will need a lot of time to recover from the most extensive Israeli attack in Syria since 1974. And though the Israeli Defense Forces say it's not seeking further escalation, the IDF says that the Syrian regime will be held accountable for everything happening in its territory and has warned against any retaliatory attack. They must understand that if it rains here, it will pour there, said Israeli Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman. The bottom line is, this is not looking good for the Middle East, as the CIA has been working to overthrow Syria and Iran for decades now, and with the help of their ally Israel, the war drums are now beating louder than ever. And those of us who can see right through their agenda must speak out and expose this plan now more than ever before it's too late. They lied about Iraq, they lied about Libya, they've lied about Afghanistan, Syria, and now Iran. So in the name of truth, please share this video, and let's help the masses in the West come to the realization that the United States, along with their ally Israel, are the #1 aggressors here who need to be stopped. If you appreciate our efforts to counter this propaganda, please check the links in the description below to find out how you can support our work here at Press for Truth, as we will continue to document this proxy war as it unfolds. So thanks for watching, my friends. Stay safe, stay vigilant, and as always, keep fighting the good fight. This is Dan Dicks reporting for Press for Truth.